Hi, AJ. It's nice to talk to you today. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I know we spoke briefly, but a little bit of background on
Background on
yourself.
myself?
Yes, please. Mm-hmm.
I'm currently a junior college athlete at the University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. I run track, but I also do basketball, so I stay very busy. And then education wise, I'm studying supply chain management and analytics with a minor in international business. Yeah, right? I do discus and then I'm attempting to add javelin this year, but we'll kind of see how
Nice.
I feel and how I progress. So,
Oh, that's awesome. Well, that's exciting. So you're at University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. Do you like that campus? How has that been, and how long have you been there?
I'll start off with I've been there for just this year. I transferred from two other institutions. Overall, I really like it. It's a beautiful campus, having the mountains right here and Manitou Springs just down the road. So it's I mean it's a very big switch from where I came from, but I think I've acclimated and I like it. So.
Good. Um, can you give us a little background of where you came from, or what the other schools were that you went to prior?
Yeah, so my freshman year, I went to University of Minnesota Twin Cities, so lived in downtown Minneapolis. It was a lot of fun, and then ended up transferring at the end of basketball season to University of Colorado Boulder, and yeah, then landed here.
Okay. What made you decide to transfer from, you said Minneapolis to Boulder?
Yeah, so my freshman year had a really good season. I developed a lot and was able to play in a lot of games. Love my teammates, but honestly, just coming from a very small town, I come from a town of about 4 or 5 thousand people. So going from that to Minneapolis, which is, I don't even know how many people, probably millions, but it was just a really hard transition. And I had a lot of personal things going on and family things. So I just didn't feel that I had that support off the court as much as I did on the court. I felt very loved and very accepted on the court. But then when it came to my personal life and things I was dealing with, there was kind of a lack of, I don't want to say lack of care, but a lack of, yeah, I guess for a better term, care.
Right. Yeah. And that's huge. That's a big deal. Hmm.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you transferred to CU Boulder. What was that experience like?
I absolutely loved it. I loved the city. I loved the people. There was a lot of school spirit. Have you ever been to Boulder?
Yes, I have.
Yes. It's a super cool town and I felt like I had a lot of connections. I networked a lot. Absolutely loved it. And then at the end of the season, I planned on staying and I was really excited to stay and I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't really expecting it, but when I went in for my end of season meeting, my coach was just like, "Hey, I think it's maybe best if you move on. Just your style of play doesn't really fit our program, and I don't think that she kind of saw me fitting into what she expected for the following year. So I ended up having to transfer, and I knew I didn't want to leave Colorado, so I stayed in state, and yeah.
Wow, well that's interesting. How did you feel getting that information with your coach at the end of the season?
It hurt a lot. Especially because I did love it and I did want to stay. That's what hurt most is kind of not being able to make that decision for myself, but being told like, "Hey, you need to leave." It was really hard, especially since I was already my second school and I found my people and I felt like that was home. So it was really challenging and it took a lot to kind of bounce back and be like, okay, like, hey, this is not the end of my journey, but I just got to keep it pushing. So,
Well, being a mental health professional, I definitely have to ask, and without getting too deep, what helped you mentally to push forward? Because I know, and I went to school at CU Boulder for
mhm.
a year. I actually ran track
Oh,
there a long time ago. So I am familiar with the school and the campus. But I know as student athletes, there's a lot of things that people don't see as far as mentally and the
mhm.
challenges. So just briefly, if you mind sharing, what helped you to push forward through that situation? It's very difficult.
Um, that's hard to answer because a little part of me still feels like I'm
Mm,
not healed from that, and I really do miss it, and I spend a lot of time there even now. But I think just being able to stay in Colorado really helped in getting that opportunity to come to UCCS because I knew, okay, yes, I'm not at Boulder. However, I'm only an hour and a half away. Like, I can see my friends when I want. And just
mm,
because I'm somewhere else does not mean that I have to lose those relationships and those connections that I built. So
awesome.
even though it was hard and it still is hard,
Mm,
just knowing that, like, hey, it's, it's a see you later, not a goodbye type of thing.
right. Oh, I
So,
like that. Yes, I like
yeah.
that. To see you later, not a I like that. That helps. So it sounds like really building your support system and having a good support system there didn't make that transition as difficult because you're
Hmm.
like, oh, I can still see you guys. I'm not that far
Right.
away. Hmm.
Absolutely.
Okay, nice. Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So tell us about UCCS. Like, how has it been there?
Overall, it's been good. I love my teammates. I love my
Mm,
coaches. I think that my coaches, not I think, I know my coaches did a really good job of loving us and caring for us on the court and off the court. So it was more of like that family feel. As far as the town, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not a huge fan of the Springs.
okay.
It's very different coming from a college town like
It is.
Boulder to
Yes.
more of like an older
Mm-hmm.
person's town. Older person's probably not the right word, but I mean, it's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people that are starting their families and
Right.
retiring here, so there's
Right.
not as many people my age, and so it's a little hard to make friends. And
Right.
since it's mainly a commuter school for a lot of the people in the military and people returning to school, I ended up with all online classes, which you can take that as good or bad, but I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I lacked the connection from my peers in that
Okay.
aspect. So
Mm-hmm.
that kind of sucks, but I still have another year, so we'll see.
Right. No, that makes sense. And no, I get it because Boulder to Colorado Springs is, like, it's day and
Yeah.
night. So I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying. Okay. And you said all online classes. So it
Mhm.
does help to still have that support at Boulder and to be able to commute and go back and
Yes.
forth because it sounds like
Mhm.
it's the the way the school is set up at UCCS, just the peer support is not as strong.
Correct. Correct.
Hmm. Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. I understand. Yes, Colorado Springs has a lot of military, and I've heard it's conservative, and that's like completely different from
Yeah.
Boulder
Yeah,
for
it is.
sure.
I would say that as well.
Okay, good. What was it like what does it feel like when you're going from one team to another team? Like, because I know, like I said, being a student athlete a long time ago, I would always be nervous about the people that I would train with and practice with because, in a sense, it's like family.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So, since this is just my personal opinion, but since the transfer portal has become more accessible and honestly more accepted, I think that it's getting easier to transfer. I know for me at least, people were very, very accepting and they kind of, they knew that new people were coming in, whether that's freshmen or transfers, there's always going to be new individuals every year. So people are really nice and, they help me get the lay of the land and kind of feel at home even if I didn't feel at home. So it was pretty smooth. I can't speak for other people, but I think if you also come in with, an open mindset and being ready to be in a new place, it's a little easier. So not just relying on in my case, the girls on my team to show me everything, but also asking questions, wanting to be present and being around them and starting conversations really helped.
That's awesome.
Hmm.
Yes, and I just learned about the transfer portal because I definitely don't think that was around when I was in school. Can you tell me a little bit about it? You don't have to go into detail.
Yeah, so the transfer portal is just, it gives people the opportunity to transfer to a new school regardless of the reason. As long as you complete your 4 years of eligibility, 4 seasons in 10
Hmm.
semesters, you
Okay.
can transfer as many times as you want. So I think that's changed in the last couple of years because you used to only be able to transfer one time and then you have to sit a year. But I
Oh,
think within the last 5 years that they've kind of changed it to you can transfer as many times as you want. But
good. Well, that's awesome because it sounds like it
mhm.
makes the transition so much easier, like you said, and
Yes.
since
Yep.
it's it's normal and people are getting used to it, it makes
Hmm.
it easier to switch. So that's good. That I know that helps a lot, especially with
Yeah.
the mental health piece of meeting new people and starting with a new team. So,
Right.
hmm,
Right.
good, good, good. Okay, what are some other challenges that have come up that you didn't foresee in this journey?
Oh, that's a big question. I think I'll speak from like a high school perspective to college. I did not realize how time consuming it would be. I knew coming in I'd have to practice every day and I'd have to go to
Hmm.
school every day. But
Right.
then it's the extra things that you have to do. You have to do the rehab and you have to
Yes.
go to weights for an hour. And then sometimes you have team bonding or there's a recruit visit or team dinners or XYZ. There's just so many other things that you
Yes.
have to do. And I think that that's one thing society doesn't realize. It's not just going to school and going to basketball. There's 100 other things you have to do, and there's standards that you have to meet. So for me, it was really hard to kind of give up that personal life aspect because I love to do a bunch of things. I'm a hobby kind of person. I have a ton of hobbies. So not having time to do that definitely hindered my mental health and kind of, made me lose sight of myself. But this last year I was able to really like hone in on those hobbies and make time. That was the biggest thing, is making time for what you need. So, but it's a lot. It's a lot, especially at Division 1.
Yes. I
Yeah.
agree. It is. And that's really good that you said that because I don't think a lot of people like realize that. Like you said, they think
Yeah.
like, oh, you go to your classes, you go to your practice, and then you're on your own. But no, you have a commitment when you sign
Hmm.
to that school. You have that commitment to show up for those things. I When I was at CU, we had to do mandatory study hall.
Oh
So,
yeah, that too.
mhm, mhm.
Yep.
And I was
That's
like,
still a thing.
okay. I was like, oh my
Yep.
goodness, I want to be in bed. But every
Yep.
day we had to go and sign in and do a certain amount of hours a week
Hmm.
of study hall. So
Yeah,
it's true dedication. And I
it
think
is.
that's a big part that's missed on the athletes too, is that they are dedicated. They have to do all of these things. Like,
Right.
so
Right.
yes, that's true. That's true. Well, yeah, that's good. I didn't even think about that until you said that. Those
Hmm.
are some things you do not think about when going
Right.
into.
Right.
Mhm. Oh, good, 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 good. And you said, I'm sorry. Tell me your major again, because it was a major I've never heard before.
It's supply chain management and analytics.
Okay, supply chain management. So what career field? Like more detail, please, because I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, so I'll start. My lifelong goal is to open my own women-owned and operated construction company, focusing on commercials. So I'd like to build apartments, hospitals, arenas, and I would like to do it with an all-women crew because I think that they're, I don't know. So I actually, let me backtrack. I'm currently in the construction field. I do project management. I'm a project management intern right now,
Okay.
and I absolutely love it. But there is a lack of women, and especially women of color. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that
Mm-hmm.
even in high school, you're always told, okay, what's next? College. People
Mm-hmm.
don't talk about the trades. They don't talk about community college, other career paths. And so it's not something that's really offered to women. And so I've always been super passionate about it and I love it and I love to talk about it with people. And so being able to assemble an all women crew would definitely just, it'd be amazing. First of all, it'd be a dream come true. But it sources to a different clientele, and a lot of women, single women, married women, whatever, they'd
Mm-hmm.
prefer to talk to and kind of understand what needs to be done by another woman. So being able to kind of create that safe space would
Mm-hmm.
be amazing. So that's what I want to do. Um, I don't necessarily need my major for it, but it's just kind of a plus, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Oh wow, that's amazing. That is
Thank you.
so awesome. I feel like I've been hearing a little bit about women in construction more lately. Yeah, so that's especially young girls. I have a couple patients who are in high school, and they both mentioned getting into that. So that's amazing that
Yeah.
you did that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's really so many career paths within construction. Everyone thinks that, you got to go put up a roof or pour concrete. You don't have to, you can be a safety coordinator. There's a ton of desk jobs. You can be a project manager, and that's like a hybrid job where you can work half from home, half at the job site. So people just need to understand that there's a ton of jobs within the field. It's not just manual labor. And I think that that's something that I really try and tell people as well, is like, hey, just look into it because there is something for you, and it also pays really good. Like the trades, the trades need people so bad, and if you want to make good pay, that's kind of the way to go.
Oh, wow. That's amazing because that's not, like you said, that information is not given
Hmm.
a lot. So, right, because
Absolutely.
when you say construction, I'm thinking manual labor because I don't
Right.
know all of the
Yeah.
details. So, that is
Hmm.
amazing. That's really,
Yeah.
and I'm like
Thank
thinking,
you.
like, okay, I need to do some more research on this. That's good. What made you, get into this? Like, even to think about that?
Yeah, so growing up, I was an only child, only granddaughter, only niece. So
Whoa.
I was like, yeah, I was kind of like the last in my family. And so when I was trying to bond with like my uncle and my grandpa and my great grandpa, they were always, building stuff and painting houses and putting down tile and stuff like that. So I just kind of started doing it because I was like, I just want to hang out, I just want to be around them. And I remember that when I don't know, I was probably 4 or 5 years old. I just kind of helped them build this little like swing that still sits in my house. It's like one of those old wooden like rocker swings, you know what I'm talking about?
Mhm. I do.
But that kind of, I was like, oh, I really like this. Like I want to use my hands and my brain at the same
Mhm.
time. And so as I got older, I always knew I'd go into construction. I just didn't know what, because again, it's not talked about. So even coming out of high school, I didn't really know what I want to do. I was like, oh well, I want to work in the construction field. I'll figure it out later. And then I went to a job fair my freshman year, and I talked to a project manager and had a really good conversation. He's like, hey, like, have you ever thought about this? You're going to get paid to use your brains, not your hands. Like, this is a good career path, especially for women. So I was like, okay, okay. And then I ended up moving to Colorado Springs, and I
Mhm.
sent some cold emails, and I got an email back, and that's how I got my internship that I have now.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Good for you.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That is so good. That's definitely a way to take the initiative.
Right.
Good. Oh, wow. And I'm sure that that's something that when you, and I don't know if you do this now because you probably can, but even speaking to other individuals about that because like
Mm-hmm.
just now you just schooled me, so I'm sure there's a lot of
Right.
other women, especially of women of color and girls of
Yeah.
color, love to get more information on that.
Yeah.
Mm. So, wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. I'm like, okay, I learned something new today. Definitely, definitely. Okay, nice. So you're in Colorado. It's
Mm-hmm.
different from where you grew up.
Yes.
Sounds like you have a really good support system
Mm-hmm.
as far as your peers and things in Boulder. And you said you just recently got back into doing hobbies and being able to spend more time doing the things that you enjoy. What are some other things that, help you stay motivated, keep you going?
My family for sure keeps me motivated. Again, being
Mm.
the only daughter, only granddaughter,
Right.
there's not a lot of pressure, but there's a lot of pressure. I want to
Oh, yeah.
succeed for them, and my
Hmm.
family loves sports. So just knowing that like they'll be sitting courtside at every single game, they'll be at every single track meet, and being able to be really close to them keeps me motivated. But also my friends. Like I come from a very small town, and
Hmm.
so I was actually the only person in my grade to leave Wisconsin to
Wow.
come, well, just to go to college. So, a lot of my friends are
Okay.
still back home. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But, kind of having different experiences and knowing that, like, hey, I got to leave the state. First of all, it was a privilege to leave the state, but I got to go and see all these things and meet all these people. So just being able to like go back home and see them and talk about it, it's a lot of fun. And so it just kind of keeps me going, like knowing that, there's people that weren't able to leave the state. And so I really,
Mhm.
I'm just grateful at the end of the day for it.
That's awesome. Yes. That's really cool.
Hmm.
I grew up in Denver, so I'm used to being around a lot of
Okay.
people, but my mom and my dad are both from really small towns, and when I go, I'm just
Hmm.
like, how? Like,
Yeah. It's a
it's
different
different.
lifestyle.
It is.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
is. I like the closeness though, like you said, like
Yeah.
just even being able to go back and see the people that you grew up in, see
Oh,
your
yeah.
friends, and that I do like that. I think that's always
Hmm.
really nice when you're growing up in a small town. Everybody is like knows everybody, and that could be a
Yeah.
really good
Yep.
thing too. So nice. Okay. Good. 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 So going through those transitions that you went through at your third school and being a student athlete and experiencing really good things and then experiencing some really difficult
Hmm.
things, what advice would you give to someone who's maybe dealing with some similar situations?
Um, it sucks, but you really just got to keep pushing forward. Like, there's going to be really good days, there's going to be really bad days, and you kind of just got to keep it pushing, but also trust yourself enough to know when enough is enough. Like if something's going on, especially in sports, if you're uncomfortable, you don't feel cared about, like you need to advocate for yourself because at the
Yes.
end of the day we're adults and nobody else will advocate for you. So being able to speak up for yourself, even if it gets you in trouble or whatever it is, you need to do it because your mental health and your presence and peace is so much more important than a
Yeah.
game. Because, yes, you can love the game, but it's not going to be fun for you or anybody else if you're miserable. And that's something that I really had to learn is there were times in my career where I was miserable. Like, could not get out of bed. I would get out of bed to go to practice, and then I'd just come back and I'd lay in bed the rest of the day. And so I, looking back, I wasn't confident and I didn't feel safe enough to advocate for myself. But I feel like if I would have, maybe it would have been different. Or maybe I could have, you know, gotten a little bit of love or help or whatever I needed. So just, being able to stand up for yourself and realize what you need is so important, especially with everything that's going on today with NIL and the transfer portal and all of that. You just like you have to focus on yourself because you cannot rely on anybody else no matter how much you love your teammates or your coaches. It
Right.
is a business.
Yes.
So you have to protect your peace. And I'm very glad that I learned that because I feel like if I didn't realize that, I would not have been in a good situation.
Ooh, that's great advice, and I agree with
Mhm.
you. And I think like sometimes we just feel like we have to deal with it because
Yeah.
here and like you said, thinking that other people like your coaches and your team, and not saying they're bad, but
Hmm.
everybody doesn't have your best. What does it say? Your best interest at heart,
Yeah.
because it
Yeah.
is a business, and so you do have
Hmm.
to advocate for yourself, especially like coming from high school, straight out of high school,
Oh,
and
yeah.
being naive and not knowing
Hmm.
like, oh, I'm at a Division 1 school, that's all that matters.
Right.
And
Right.
but you definitely have to advocate for yourself. You're right.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great advice. I really, yeah, that's so important. And knowing, and like
Yeah.
you said, knowing what doesn't work for you. Like
Hmm.
if you're not able to get out of the bed, if you are having symptoms of like anxiety or depression, it's like this is not shaking, it's not going anywhere. And it can get worse if you don't say,
Hmm.
okay, something has to change. Like this is not working. Yeah. Oh, that's important. And knowing that there's options, like you said, there's
Yeah.
options like the transfer portal and,
Hmm.
being able, like you are a great example of someone who's like, nope, I'm not giving up. This might not
Yeah.
fit, but it's okay. I'm going to see what else is out there and
Right.
being successful in that still, like not saying, okay, well, this didn't work out. Now everything's over. I don't have any more options,
Hmm.
but seeing what else is out there and
Yeah.
knowing that you do have options. We do.
Hmm. Hmm.
Good. Oh, that's great. That's great advice. I needed that. I needed that advice when I was in college. I needed
Yeah.
advocating for yourself. So important and knowing what you need.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for that advice. Yeah, I think that's And I guess one last thing that I would want to ask, because I have you here. You're awesome. You're a student athlete. You moved
Thank
around,
you.
you got your experience, and this
Hmm.
great idea with your major and your future is overall, throughout these transitions and being a student athlete, and having sometimes challenges with your mental health. And I don't know if you've had any injuries or any issues with your physical health in within these transitions and being a student athlete, but for student athletes that are, what is something else that you could say? Because that's one of the biggest things too, is like getting injured and feeling like, oh, your career's over, or what do I do now? Or, you know, really dealing with that.
So, knock on wood, but I have not had like a major injury in college. I mean, I've had like a few, a broken finger or whatever it is, but I've never had anything serious.
Yeah.
However, I've been on three different teams where I have seen some serious injuries, and I have the utmost sympathy because I cannot imagine, especially for ACLs, Achilles, like those are almost year-long recoveries. And
Right.
if and for most of these girls, they're, basketball, soccer, volleyball, whatever it that is their main reason. That's their main why. And
Right.
so I think that when it comes to injuries, mental health or just injuries in general,
Mhm.
just again being able to advocate for yourself. If you need a shoulder to cry on, or you just need somebody to lean on, you have to lean on the people that you really care about, because those are such hard times. And just speaking from experience, I definitely struggled with mental health my freshman year. I had just again a big transition coming from a town of 4,000 people to going to downtown Minneapolis. Oh my
Mhm.
goodness.
Right.
I didn't know how to transition, and I didn't feel like I had anybody that really cared. And so, just being able to advocate for yourself. And
Mhm.
honestly, that's I could talk about that question forever, because it's, yeah, interesting question.
No, thank you. Well, and I've seen that too. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
so that's why I was thinking about it like that can be devastating. You're
Yeah,
right.
it can be.
When that's like your livelihood, and that's what
Yeah.
motivates you every day, and then you get injured. So I understand that, but I really like the the piece that you're saying about advocating. And to
Hmm.
add to that, it sounds like having that support system or
Oh yeah.
building a support system is so huge. Like you said, coming from a
Hmm.
town of 4,000 people, is that you said?
Yeah, I think 4 or 5,000, somewhere around there. Very small though, nonetheless.
Very right into downtown Minneapolis, and it's like not knowing
It's rough.
anybody. It could be
Yeah.
a culture shock because you're
Hmm.
small town to big city, and
Yeah.
just a lot of different things. And for many of us, like unless we're in pre-collegiate programs or we do college tours and things like that, we don't even know what
Mhm.
that transition looks like
Oh
from
yeah. Yeah.
high school to college. So it's just like, I don't know if I should do this. Why am I here? So having that support is huge. And I think
Hmm.
that's very, very important. Like you said, the support system and
Yeah.
advocating for yourself.
And I think, kind of bouncing off what you're saying about, a lot of non-athletes in high school, they go on college tours, and, they do other things to make sure that they really love the town. Whereas athletes, when we go on a college visit, we have 48 hours. We have to be in and out of that town in 48 hours. And it's really hard because coaches coaches roll out the red carpet on your visits.
Oh, of course.
They're gonna
Yes.
put you in the fanciest hotels and bring you to the nicest restaurants, and
Mm-hmm.
they're only gonna show you the best parts of that place.
Right.
But you're not seeing the classrooms, you're not meeting
Right.
the people, so it's really hard to actually know when you have this vision of one thing and you think, oh my gosh, this is going to be so glamorous and this is going to be the best 4 years of my life. But
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, you're not seeing and meeting the real
Right.
reason why you're going to that town. And that's kind of another reason why, I'm not gonna lie, I have used the transfer portal 2 times, so I don't know how much this means, but I'm not a huge fan of the transfer portal for that reason, is because I think people are kind of losing sight of why you're going to college in the first
Mm.
place. At the end of the day, you're going for an education. So,
Yeah.
yes, playing a sport is important and it's an amazing opportunity to get your education. However, it's not the only reason, Playing a sport is such a small in 20, 30 years, it's really such a small part of why
Yes.
you did it. Having that education, once you get your degree, nobody can take that from you. So that
Nobody.
is really the reason. And it's hard for me to sometimes see people that I know or care about, they're like, oh, well, I'm transferring because so and so school is going to give me X amount of money. Or, oh, well, I love the school's colors and they have the best gear. Okay, but that's
Mhm.
not why we're here. And I think
Right.
that's a big reason why
Mhm.
I was able to transition from D1 to D2 is because I knew, okay, well, I'm here for my education
Absolutely.
and
Mhm.
this is a place that I'm gonna enjoy. It's right down the road. No, we don't have flashy facilities. We don't have. I think we get like 3 T-shirts and a hoodie. So it's like
Mhm.
we're not getting the best gear. However, it's about the people and the town, and so that's something that people need to realize when they enter the transfer portal. Is you need to remember your why, kind
Yeah.
of, and just be able to be grounded and know that hey, when I'm on a visit, it's only the red carpet because a lot of coaches and a lot of schools they want
Oh,
to hold your hand when you're a freshman, but then when you get that diploma you never hear from them again.
absolutely.
So I think the NCAA and college in general needs to do a better job of walking you in
Right.
and walking you out,
I
because there's
agree.
a lot of life skills that athletes just do not learn
No.
because we have tutors and we have nutritionists and we
Mhm.
have somebody cooking for us 3 times a day and all these other amazing amazing resources that we have, which I'm grateful for. However, if you don't know how to cook and you don't know how to do your laundry because somebody else is doing it for you, it's going to be very hard once you graduate. So I think that there just needs to
Mhm.
be a better like connection between the student athlete and life.
I
And
agree.
that's something that's just not really incorporated nowadays. So
Yes.
it's I don't know. Transferring is amazing, but it's people just need to transfer for the right reasons.
Mhm. Poof. That's a really good word right there. That's it really, no, it really is though. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And I think, and for me personally,
Mhm.
not being able to get the real, um,
Yeah.
perspective of the campus set me back because like you said, I'm
Oh
thinking,
yeah.
oh, and everybody's so nice and they're coming up and they're helping me, and you're right, they're holding your hand, getting you through everything, and then you start school and you're like, I don't know what's going on. I don't
Right.
know where,
Yeah.
do I even like it here? Like it's like
Mhm.
it was just a lot of that, and that just continues to be the case. Like you said, it
Yeah.
continues to be a case for student athletes, and they don't get that experience, or oh, it's a D1, or like you said, oh, I like this and they're giving me more money and this. But how do you adapt, because you're not thinking about your mental health and how you
Yeah.
adapt here, and is
Mhm.
this the right environment for you,
Right.
so
Right.
yeah, I agree. Thank you. That was a really really good point. You're right. 1000% I agree with that. So well, thank you for
Mhm.
sharing with me, and giving us your perspective, especially as a student athlete and dealing with not just transferring but the mental health challenges that go along with that, because I don't think that's always discussed when we talk
No,
about student athletes.
not at all.
Okay, guys, I hope you enjoyed that conversation between AJ and Sheila. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to leave me a comment and a review, and look up for more information on Glow Up Counseling, who sponsored this episode, in the link in the show notes. See ya!